Okay, so we've seen how to sort using bubble sort or selection sort any array. That we can understand that we used an array as an int. We can use a double or any primitive data types. But however, if it was some kind of a custom class, like a class data type, let's say student or car or truck, whatever, we would like to be able to sort them. But I cannot ask an element if it's greater than another element, just because how can a student be greater than another student? I need to find a better way to compare that, and to be able to do that I need to use different ways. But one of the ways that are kind of the standard way to do that is to make your class implement an interface that is comparable. That comparable interface is going to force any class that implements this interface to have one method, compare to. Now this compare to works as like it allows you to compare this object with another object. And then what does it return? How do I know which one is greater? Well, they come up with some kind of a system. If the number is negative, that means the one on the left is greater. If it's positive, the one on the right is greater. If it's 0, that means they're equal. But I need to specify based on which criteria it's going to be smaller or greater. And that's the subject of this video. So let's of this talk. So let's do that, inshallah. So I'm going to create a new project that I'm going to call week 6 comparable. And for that I just would like to create, first of all, well, this is my main, I don't need it now. I'm just going to create a new class that I'm going to call student, because we have worked with a class student before. So I'm just going to do something with the class student that has private int as an ID and private, you remember we did something like double for the GPA and then private string name, something like that, if I remember. Now let's just add the constructors that is going to initialize all of them. I don't want to have a lot of different things. I don't want to get the getters and setters because I'm not interested in them. Maybe just the toString so I can display something. Okay, and we've seen the equals, right? Remember the equals. So I'd like to say if equals work, but just telling me if this one is equal to that one, that's it. It's true or false. It's equal or not equal. But it doesn't work my objective. It doesn't help me to compare which one is greater to which one is not. So if I'd like to do that, basically I need a method to be able to give me which one is greater. So but now this comparable, okay, I'm just going to make it like this for now because I don't want to talk about that. Now I just would like to make it comparable. It's an interface that now it needs to either make the class abstract or implement all the methods from comparable. Well, what are the methods from comparable? There's only one. It's compare to, but what's important is it returns an int. Now if you read something here, this compares this object with the specified object for the order. What is the specified object? The one that is given as an argument here. Well, don't bother the t here, forget about it. It's just some kind of data type. Now what does it do? Well, I'm going to see this is not going to be easy to read this way. I'm going to do it another way, which is, let me implement the abstract method. There's only one, this compare to. Now this compare to it just allows me to see something. Let's click on more so I can read more. So it compares this object with the specified object for order, returns a negative number, 0, or a positive integer as this object is less than, equal, or greater than the specified object. Now if let's just make it work. For example, I'm just going to have, let me just remove this and put some code. Okay, this says this is an object. What if I make it a student? Now it's not override anymore, but anyways, I'll keep it as an object. This is the object that is going to be that I'm comparing it to. What I'm going to do, this is an object, I need to convert it to a student, because I need to do some kind of downcasting. So this is the other student. Okay, I'm just not doing it the best way because I'm not checking a lot of things, but I don't care about the details for now. I need to add some more details later, but I don't care with the details. I just would like to make the basic thing that will make this work. I'm getting an object. I know that I'm going to use this to compare not between a banana and a student. I'm just going to compare between one object of a student with another object of a student. And then this should be converted to this. Now I need to return an int. So let me just make it this: returned value. So my returned value is going to be either a negative number, any negative number, or positive number, any positive number, or 0. So when is it going to be 0? If it's the same. Now how do I know that it's the same? I can have many different ways how to make sure that one is bigger than the other one, or one is equal to the other one. Okay, now I'm comparing what? This compare to is going to compare this object with the other one that was given to us. Now let's say, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to compare between just the ID. If two students have the same ID, I'm going to say they are equal. If they don't have the same ID, they are not equal. Now I'm going to set this .id, if it's equal to the other .id, then what I'm going to return is 0. Else, if this .id is smaller than the other .id, I'm going to make the returned value to be equal to, now should it be positive or negative? I'm going to make it negative because in the first one is, so -1 is enough for me to be, it's a negative. If it's negative, I mean it's the one on the left that is smaller. If it's positive, that means it's one on the right that is smaller. And now the else, if it's not equal, if it's not smaller, so that means this should be a positive number that I should return. And I can do this. Now the last thing is to return this returned value. Can I do it better? Well, yes, I can just remove this thing and just make just return. So either I return 0 or return -1 or return 1. So I'm always returning one of these things. Either it's 0, -1, or 1. But now doing this, I can have an array of different students, and then I can compare between them. I know which one is smaller, which one is bigger. And this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go back to here and declare an array of students. So let's just do that. An array of students, this is my array, is equal new student. And how many? Let's just put 5 for now. I just don't want to have a big number of students. Of course I need to initialize them. So array.0 is equal to new student. I need to create a new one. Well, the first one is the ID, then the GPA, and then the name. So ID, whatever. Let's put ID 1, GPA 4, and name. Okay, Muhammad. And copy and paste a couple of times. So this is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's it. Now I'm just going to give them the same ID. This is the ID 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They all have good GPAs, and I don't want to spend time. This is Muhammad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of very speedy naming. So now I have my array. It's already sorted, so I'm just going to scramble it a little bit. So this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. But then it's made my life even harder now because I need to, okay, 4 and then 3. Am I doing this right? Okay, let's display it before. So before, so if I'd like to display the array before, what I need to do is a for loop array.length, and then s out, because I have a toString. It's just going to display them all. But the problem is that it's going to display them one by one in each line. That's fine. I'm just going to do something like this to see that this is the end of my array. So let me see what is the result of that. I'm going to have something that looks like this. Okay, where is this? Okay, so this is before. These are student 3, 4, 1, 5, and 2. And this is the end of my array. Now I just would like to do this, copy this and make it after. No, this is after. And in between, I just would like to do one of the sorting algorithms that I have. And which one do you want? The bubble? Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to go to the sorting. I'm lazy typing the whole code. I'm just going to go here, and since I have a method that is going to be the bubble sort, I just copy this. Of course, it will not work as is because this was meant for something that is an int. Now I don't have an int here. I have an array of student. Now if I have an array of students, now you see that this is my problem. I cannot do this. Because how you can compare this? But I have a method. So how do I know if I want this to be bigger? That means, so this is array.I. I'm going to compare that to array.I plus 1. And if I want this to be this one bigger, that means it should be, so if this is equal to -1, or maybe just if it's smaller than 0, that will be, so if it's smaller than 0, I'm going to do the swapping. If the one on the left is smaller than the one on the right, I'm going to swap. That's what I want. What do we want to do? Is it on the, do you want to have it ascending order or descending order? Ascending, which means the smallest first and the biggest last. So the smallest, that means if the one on the left is smaller than the one on the right, I'm not doing anything. But if it's the opposite, if the one on the left is bigger than the one on the right, that means if the one on the right is bigger, this means what? This one is bigger than this one. Then I'm going to swap it. But to swap, now this is, I cannot put array of I to an int. It's a student, and I'm done. If it's equal, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to change them. They stay the same. Now, all I need to do is to call this bubble sort with the array of students, and that's it. Let me run and see if it's working. So it became kind of random. Now it's sorted. Now if I want it to be sorted the other way around, from the largest to the smallest, I'm going to swap them if the one on the left is smaller than the one on the right. Then it's going to be swapped, which means the one on the right is going to be the smallest, the one on the left is the largest. And this is going to put this into a different order. Now this is all working because of this. Now this comparable, it did not do anything, it just forces my class to implement this method compare to. And this compare to works in this manner, it just returns a positive number, a negative number, or 0. So when did it return a negative number? When this one on the left is smaller than this one on the right. The idea is that, look, if this is smaller than this, that means it's going to be less than 0. It's the same order of the greater than or lesser than. That's how you just remember it. It would be easier for you. So if it's the same, less than, it's going to be negative. So that's how it works. Now this way, if you want to have any class to be able to be sortable, you just make it implement comparable. Yes.
What if it's equals to 0?
What if it should be what? Sorry?
What if it's equal to 0? It will be
If
same?
like the values are the same?
Yes, two IDs are the same.
Well, if two are the same, what is going to happen? Like if the one on the left, is it equal to the one on the right? Is it greater? No. So it's going to be 0. Is 0 greater than 0? No. I'm not doing anything. Just keep them.
So we
Don't touch them. I don't need to swap them. I only need to swap when one of them is bigger than the other one.
So we don't need for the method compare to if the object equal to.
That's right. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good point that you're bringing. Now, I don't need to return 0. I'm not interested in 0. I'm just interested in either I return -1 or +1. So the 0 is not really relevant for me. And Java is not going to check that. But you see, when we were reading the documentation of this, it was telling you that you are supposed to implement the compare to this way. You have to return -1 or 0 or 1. So if you would like to follow this, this is the best way to do. But if you don't, it's up to you. But that's not the best way to do, because if you're implementing comparable, you're supposed to follow the instructions that comes with comparable. But if you don't, it's at your own risk. Maybe someone, if you don't implement the equal 0, someone will going to think, because you implemented comparable, okay, normally you would have put some way to return 0. But you never return 0, so it might crash his program because you didn't do that. So if you don't want to have this 0, you just do something like this. Just get out of this 0. We don't need it. And then you ask the question, if this, then you return this, and else I'm going to put else if. Else if this is bigger, then you're going to return 1. But what if they're equal? What are you going to return? It's not possible now. How would you return nothing here? Because you have to ask a question. So now you have an if else. If this is true, you're going to put here. If this is not true, then maybe this is true. So you're going to be here. What if this is not true and this is not true? That's why I have an error here. It tells me there's a missing return statement. What then? It's like you have to do something like this anyways. Or what you could do, like this, for example, as is mentioned. Now the 0, if it's equal or if it's greater, I'm going to consider them to be returning the same value. But if somebody was thinking that, oh, because compare to should be returning 0, and somebody here in the code is going to use that and say, is this equal to 0, then do something, it will not work as expected, because it doesn't return 0. It will always return -1 or +1. So Java is not going to check that you're implementing it the correct way, but you should. You should implement it the correct way. So that means if you'd like to compare the name, basically, for example, if you'd like to compare based on the name, so instead of doing this less than, I need to do something different. Now if I compare them based on the name, so I need to say is the name, and check that. The class string is implementing comparable. So if you'd like to use that, you see it's already comparing to the other than name. Now
Based on what?
hold on, just if you're using the name to compare between the two, you just you just need to return this. Because this compare to is going to return what? 0 if it's equal, minus 1 if it's this one is smaller than this one, or a positive if this one is bigger than this one. So this is going to return either 0, a positive number, or negative number. Whatever that was given to us, we just return it. Which means now I'm using the compare to from the string because I just would like to compare two students only based on their name. If they have the same name, then they're going to be equal. If they have a name that is greater than the other, then they have some method that is going to compare them. Because if I just would like to go to this string, if I go to its declaration, it implements comparable. Among the things that it implements comparable. Which means you can compare between two strings. Which one is bigger, which one is smaller.
How can we compare based on what?
Okay, now how does two strings are compared to? Internally, it just looks for the first letter. Is it the same as the first one or not? For example, is the first letter here, for example, is A, the other one is, let's say this is the first name. I'm just going to show you this thing. This is the name of the first students, Abdullah and Muhammad. Now how does two things compare? They look at first the first one. Which one comes first?
A.
So A comes first, that means this one is smaller, this one is bigger. So because they are not the same, fine, that Abdullah will come first. Now what if we have two Abdullah, one that is like this and the other one like that? So it's just going to compare the first one, they're the same, okay, compare the second one. Is it the same? Okay, then keep comparing until you find something different. Okay, this one is different, okay, which one comes first? A comes before you, so A is going to be first. So this one is going to be before the one. So that's how the compare to works into a string. Now this is, I'm not getting into that details because I don't care how it was implemented. What I need to know is just now, this string has compare to, which is handy because it allows me to compare between two strings. Which one is smaller, which one is bigger. And then I can use that. I compare this thing, this name with the other name, and whatever result is this is going to give me either negative, positive, or 0. I'm just returning it. And this is now comparing based on the names. And just to test that for fun, let's just change some of the names. Let's make Abdullah here, for example. And let's make Abdullah. So I want with A, what do you want with you? And let's run. Now I'm comparing based on the name, which means normally what I'm expecting, this is the one is going to become first, then this one, then Muhammad 1, then Muhammad 2, then Muhammad 4. Let's run. You see Abdullah, not down there, not sorted based on the ID because it's based only on the name, and this is what I'm getting. So it depends on you, the developer, who designs your class, to decide based on what you're comparing your instances, based on the ID or the name or both of them. It's up to you. You decide. You decide when to return a positive number, when to return a negative number.
You only can have one comparator.
Yes, yes. Well, it makes sense to have one comparator. Yes. So that's it about this making a class comparable, so you can allow it to be sorted. Now I can use this bubble sort or the selection sort, it doesn't matter. I just need to, every time I need to compare, I'm not going to compare like this, but this time I'm comparing Where is it? Using compare to. That's what I need to do. Okay? Any questions?